Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Landed by the water, we shall not be moved. Michael Brown was a recent high school graduate who was looking forward to going to college. We remember. When you have done it, you have done
Hello, this is Bishop John Selders.
And this is Pamela Selders.
And welcome. You are watching, viewing, listening to Reflecting Faith. Pam and I thought we should have a conversation about our most recent trip to Ferguson, to St. Louis. Lots of folk knew where we were going last weekend to be involved in lots of the activities that took place during a weekend of resistance in St. Louis. And so we thought we would do a show where we highlighted some of our reflections, also speak to some of our friends and colleagues and partners on the ground, and that you could, in fact, get a sense at least of what we experienced and some of our reflections as we have come now back home to Connecticut around the activities, the events, and the stuff going on there in Ferguson, Missouri.
Yes, indeed. And you know, it is forever happening. It's continuing even as we speak.
Absolutely it is. So first off, I guess we need to do a little bit of disclosing. St. Louis is our home for the better part of my life. St. Louis has had some part of my heart and my attention. Pamela and I were both raised in St. Louis.
Born and raised.
I went to St. Louis U High. You know, that's the question that is asked in St. Louis. What school?
High school did you go to? What high school did you go to?
That's right. So
I went to Southwest High.
All right. Representing in the house. And then later when we got married in St. Louis. And had started having children. Our children were born in St. Louis.
Yes.
And our parents live in St. Louis.
Yes.
Plenty of our siblings and our nieces.
Brothers, sisters.
That's right. Our nieces and
Yes.
nephews. We have family. That's right. We have big families on both of our sides of our family that live in St. Louis. So Ferguson it held a particular fondness in our hearts. And as the events unfolded in August, we were glued to the TV set and glued to our phones as our family members text us and called us and Facebooked us and Twitter was blowing up because something was happening in St. Louis, in the Ferguson
And in
area.
Ferguson, which was no surprise. Ferguson has always been troublesome.
That's right.
It always have been a problem for black people in particular. Driving through it, you were most likely to be stopped and ticketed or questioned or something.
That's right.
So when we heard that things had happened in Ferguson, we weren't surprised that it was Ferguson. We were surprised in the response. St.
right.
Louis hasn't been known for any uprisings, really, around any social justice issues. Not really. Something here or there, but for the most part, it's been pretty quiet.
That's right. St. Louis, for us, is certainly during our lifetime. We've not experienced very many social upheavalments. I mean, Dr. King was assassinated, I think, a couple of blocks, made a little noise, and that's about it. We've had several instances during our years there. Now again, let's do a little more disclosing. We've not lived there for almost 20 years.
Right.
We've lived in Chicago and then here in Connecticut, though we've gone back just about every year annually, and then several times a year, in and out, a year in and out, for various events with family and friends. And so St. Louis, again, holds for us, when we heard that something was going on, we were surprised. Not surprised that something happened, not surprised that
Right.
some shooting, some, altercation with police happened. Of course, that in every major city in this country, that's no big surprise. What was the surprise was first the response
The protesting.
and the response to what had happened, which is the protesting and now the sustained protesting. We're in now days 70. We're over 70 days since the event, and the first thing that people ask us, ask me as I'm talking about it, what are people upset about? What do people want? And let me say, we heard over and over again that people want some response of the government to the officer who is now has not been charged.
He's on paid leave.
He's on paid leave. He's not been charged with anything. He's not arraigned. He wasn't arrested.
No.
And he's on paid leave. And so
And he's hidden away.
That's right.
For his protection.
That's right. That's right. So people are upset that under any other kind of circumstance, when a shooting happens, let's go back to Trayvon Martin. His shooter, the person who ultimately was did shoot him, was arrested. There was a mugshot, and he was questioned. So people are feeling some kind of way about that.
Yeah.
So there's been protests not only in Ferguson, in two different places in particular, on near Canfield, where Michael Brown's body was actually where the shooting occurred, and the street that is just adjacent to that. But also now there's been protests day after day at the Ferguson police station around that. Then there's been protests at the county commissioner's office. Now in St. Louis, what you need to know is that Ferguson is a suburb of the St. Louis city.
It is.
And the St. Louis County prosecutors is the body that is handling this affair in this case. So there is all of that that's going on that people are upset about.
Yes.
They are upset, and what was of interest to me, that while what you see and the images, at least early on, the images were of the violence that occurred, the looting, all right, and the torching of businesses on West Florissant, which is the thoroughfare that where the quick trip was.
Yeah.
Was burned down, and so there was all of this action and activity and questioning of why are people looting. What we found out when we got on the ground was quite a bit different. That first off, most of the protesters were young people, and there were older people and other people on the ground there, and that while there may have been some stirring, the violence and the overwhelming force that was being rendered in those early days was by the authorized authority,
Yes.
the police, and what we got to see in a national way with the national broadcast media is what we got to see is that local police forces were arming up and had gotten military equipment sold to them or even gifted to them by the government, the federal government. So that was of some concern for us as we began to see and hear reports on the ground. I got calls from one of our friends and partners and colleagues in ministry, and we'll talk to Reverend Sekou in a moment. But he called me and said, man, I think we need to turn our attention homeward. He's also a St. Louisan. And he did go and began to get involved and lead efforts on the ground there in St. Louis.
So in the first day that we got there, actually on Saturday that was the march.
So let's step back a moment. We ultimately were invited to come to share in this weekend of resistance, and that happened last weekend to our taping the show tonight. And we were asked to participate in the weekend festivities. A call went out for clergy and others, people of faith, to gather in Ferguson, in the St. Louis region, for a number of different actions. So,
And yeah, so that was the march, and it was downtown St. Louis. And it was truly an amazing happening. Again, you know, we're from St. Louis, and there's just not been a lot of protesting. So having people come in from everywhere, not just around the country, but from around the world.
yes.
People came in to be in solidarity with what was going on in Ferguson. And so it was an amazing happening.
Yes, it was an amazing display of, the reports have ranged from 12 to 15 to 20,000 people gathered in downtown St. Louis, and we marched down Market Street in front of the main post office and the Scott's Trade Center. That's the where the hockey team plays, the St. Louis Blues play, and down Market Street headed toward downtown. And so we have pictures, and hopefully you'll see some of the
all
pictures.
ethnicities, all nationalities. You know, we had Asians and Latinos and, you know, Australians.
and New Zealanders, and I mean there were people from all over the world.
Everywhere.
Palestinians,
Yes, Palestinians.
from Palestine, Palestinians from Palestine, okay, but there were people from Sri Lanka and Pakistan, people from Africa. So that was quite amazing. In fact, one of the reflections, Pamela, you were asked by a reporter from MSNBC and she asked you
what most impressed me, and I said the diversity.
That's right.
That people were coming from everywhere with the same cry.
That's right.
And we were truly in solidarity, and it was an amazing thing that happened. People brought instruments, you know, drums and guitars and whatever. There was this man who put together 2 tin pans, and it was just beating, you know, the pans together, and so it just kind of formed a drum line, like, and horn, strings, and they just formed this line, and they were all in rhythm, coming together from everywhere, and it was a beautiful thing that happened. It sounded like New Orleans. To me, it seemed like a New Orleans.
A funeral procession.
But it was everybody of all colors, all generations that participated. So, you know, that then said that this is something else happening here besides, you know, just this is Mike Brown, and what happened to him happens all the time.
That's right.
And so, to me, we got to a point, we are at a point where we're not going to take this anymore.
That's right.
And so this is just reverberating all around the world.
That's right. That's right. From Saturday, we did a mass rally on Sunday. Cornell West, the Reverend Dr. Cornell West was the keynote speaker, and then we did an action of clergy on Monday. That we marched from a church to the police station.
Yes.
And had some incredible moments during that time. That was our weekend in a nutshell. All right.
Yeah, we stood out in the rain for 4 hours and 32 minutes.
Let's talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
Reverend Sekou, we'll get Reverend Sekou on the line and let him talk about it a little bit more. Why don't we take a break just for a moment? We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to and watching Reflecting Faith. welcome back. This is Reflecting Faith, and I'm Bishop John Selders.
And this is Pamela Selders.
And we have on the line our dear brother, who is from the very beginning been on the ground, and I'm just excited that he had the opportunity, the time he could do this. Ooh, I got tongue-tied there for a minute. Say, cool, the Holy Ghost got a hold to me. Let me introduce to you our brother, our friend, our colleague for many, many years, the Reverend Osajifu Uhuru Sekou. He is right now in St. Louis on the ground. Greet the people, brother.
It's a blessing to be here, dear brother.
All right. Listen, why don't we go back to the beginning? And have you characterize your involvement, from the early days?
Well, I was at for 6 weeks I did at Stanford at the Martin Luther King papers, serving as a scholar in residence. Mm-hmm. And, studying King's life and legacy there, looking at rare documents, and then Ferguson happened. Mike Brown was killed on Saturday, August 9th. And I figured there would be some form of a dust up, but about 4 or 5 days in, I realized that this was not going to bow down. So I got on the plane and I flew out to St. Louis and was greeted by other pastors working here, Nelson Pierce and others with PICO, and we were instantly inundated with tweets and text messages that they were tear gassing young people on West Florida.
Right.
So I went to the street, and what I saw was what reminded me of Palestine, where I was in 2012. Young people facing tanks and tear gas, but they would not bow down. Reverend Renita Lampkin standing in the street, who had been earlier that week shot with a rubber bullet by the police, standing with young people trying to console them so they wouldn't be hurt more by the police. And then we started organizing, being in the street with the young people, trying to protect them, trying to get the police to stand down, and eventually we began to do some training with young people in nonviolent civil disobedience. And so, spent nights, lots of late nights, way too much coffee, and too many cigarettes to deal with, to try to stay up. And we've just been here. And then when Myers was killed shortly thereafter, number of protests on the south side of St. Louis. We convened the Ferguson October with activists from around the country, and have continued to do that work, and have continued to try to support these youth organizers who have emerged in this critical moment for time such as this.
That's right. So Reverend Sekou, there are a number of different youth organizations on the ground. And could you name a couple of those and we give them shout outs here?
Yeah, there's there is Dante with Lost Voices and those young people doing amazing work. There is Millennial Activists United doing amazing work. Brittany and Ashley and others who are doing amazing work on the ground. And then there's Alexis Templeton, Brittany Farrell, Ashley Yates, there's Larry Fellows, all of the Millennial Activists United, and their Hands Up United, Tesco and Corey Russell, and Abby and others who have just really emerged as amazing young activists. All the folks that I've named have actually been arrested, as well as they're on the streets. They're giving lectures and touring, and it's just quite amazing.
Yeah. We had the privilege meeting them during our time in St. Louis. Now, a part of the October Ferguson was the weekend of resistance that the call went out for clergy and people of faith from all over the country, and in fact, they showed up from all over the world. Talk to us a little bit about the purpose of that resistance weekend in the midst of October Ferguson.
Well, October Ferguson October was called by the organization Black Struggle More and the Don't Shoot Coalition, which made a critical decision that they wanted to keep the energy going. Now, the assumption when calling for Ferguson October is that the grand jury decision whether or not to indict Darren Wilson was going to come back around this time. Shortly after he announced Ferguson October, the prosecutor moved the date all the way up to January 2nd as the possibility of when the information will be released. When we called this event, we in solidarity with these local organizers called activists. There were 4 days of resistance, for this weekend of resistance, an action in Clinton at the office of Robert McCullough, the prosecutor, who has refused to recuse himself, as well as called for the appointment of the special prosecutor. That Saturday was a mass rally and march. Sunday was a hip-hop show and then an interfaith service. And then Monday was action of police, action of activists and pastors in solidarity with young people. Some 43 folks were arrested in the religious contingent when we went to the police station and demanded that they repent. Included in that action, arrested Reverend Michael McBride from Pico, myself, Reverend Renita Laskin, Dr. Cornell West, members and students from Eaton Theological Seminary as well.
That's right. That was quite an amazing day, and in fact, an amazing weekend. Now, one more question, brother, and then we're going to let you go. I know you got to get back on the ground. Tell us what's happening right now.
The family of Rondaris Myers released a private autopsy which says that he was shot 8 times, 6 of them from behind, 1 close-range shot in his head by the police. One of those shots broke his finger, so he wouldn't have been able to run. And so the idea that the police union put out their press release and press conference that he was shooting at the police officer. All of that information, we are, and young people are extremely angry. There's been a steady need to recriminate Mike Brown, rehashing old stories and old lies. And so tempers are hot. There were about 200 people outside the police station last night. I wasn't there, but I saw it on the live stream. And as agent provocateurs throwing bricks and trying to incite violence for the police. But the young people have been out there for over 75 days now, and they were not found out.
Yeah. Reverend Sekou, thank you, brother, for being with us. We're praying for you. You know, you can pick up the phone and we'll do what we can, sir.
Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing, all of your efforts, all of your heart, and all of the work that you have put into training these young people, because they are organized. That they are. They're passionate. They have the passion. You know, they have the passion, they have the cause, and now they are organized. And so I really appreciate that.
Yes.
Bless you, brother and sister. I love you all, and thank you.
Yes,
love you too.
Love you too.
Take care.
That was Reverend Osajifu Sekou on the ground in St. Louis. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Maybe all the media respect all y'all. But shit, I live here.
Welcome back. This is Bishop John Selders.
And this is Pamela Selders.
And we have a dear friend and sister and colleague in the ministry and in life with us who's also been involved in some of the goings on in Ferguson. And let's introduce our sister, the Reverend Dr. Valerie Bridgman, who is the visiting professor of homiletics and Hebrew Bible at Methodist Theological School in Ohio. That's right. Welcome, Sister Valerie.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing well.
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm probably like everybody else, a little, wound up, but I'm good.
All right. Well, what we wanted to do is just to get your observations, some of your reflections. As we know, you just come from the ground in Ferguson, in St. Louis, participating in a weekend of festivities. Tell us a little bit about first what you were doing, and then some of your reflections and observations coming out of the work you have been doing there on the ground.
Yeah, well, festivities, that's an interesting word
Yeah.
to use about what
Right.
and Ferguson. I was just saying to someone that these young protesters, and I use young only to describe who they are, but they are fierce, they are savvy, they are learned, they are learning on the go, they are disciplined, they are aggrieved, they are really working hard on several fronts, and that's good. And I was invited. I had made the decision that I wouldn't go unless invited, and I was invited specifically to do some pastoral care work with women and to speak at a Mother's March. And I did that, and then I preached twice on Sunday. I was struck by several things. One, what I just said, the bravery and the courage
Yes.
of the people who are demanding that that the law be for everyone, and that it be safe to be black in the USA, not just in Ferguson, because they're really clear that it's not just Ferguson.
Yes.
That this is, as I said to a police officer, you're the flashpoint, you're not the point.
Right.
But I'm also very aware of the trauma and the sort of ongoing trauma that people are experiencing and having. I experienced it as one of the most over-policed places I've ever been. I can't even describe it, but to see people living in the midst of that, and to hear, particularly from the stories of the women, of the things they've had to endure while they've been protesting. It was overwhelming, but it was also encouraging, So you can ask me anything you want to besides that.
Understood, and do understand. There are those who can live, for me, pretty oblivious to what we experienced as somewhat of a war zone.
I said, this is what it means to be under the boot of a military, in the military zone, and under the duress of a military dictatorship. And let me tell you the other thing that I ended up thinking, because so at the Mother's March, after we had done the march around the center, I used to be a reporter many years ago. So one of the things they teach you is crowd estimate, right? So I pulled that I could figure out how many people were at the march. And I was standing next to a photographer from one of the newspapers there. And I said to him, so how many people do you think are here? He said, I don't know. He said, I think it's between 700 and 800. And I said, yeah, I was trying to do the count, and I was thinking close to 800,000. He said, yeah, that sounds right to me. And we both were looking at the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the newspaper said there were 250 people.
Yep. Yep.
And what I know from being a reporter is that there is the count that reporters do, and then there's the so-called official account that comes from the police department that's doing, quote, crowd control.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that media is not actually reporting the truth is no different than the media of China.
Yeah.
Reporting what the state wants you to report.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was just, that, I was like, really? So that was interesting to me. I'm also just blessed about the love of these young people. Like they love each other and they love their community. And, part of it is that they, when we asked one of the young women, why are you doing this? She said, because I have a 7-year-old daughter and I can't let her continue to grow up in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that they were really seeking the guidance of elders.
Say what?
That they were seeking guidance from the elders.
Yeah, they are, and they're seeking guidance from a particular elder. They're not interested in people who want to tell them, oh, pull your pants up. And,
Right.
They're
Right.
not interested.
No.
They're like, do you see us dying over this?
Yeah.
Do you think people are killing us? And
Right.
also men and women.
Yes.
Women, the young women are being body slammed to the ground. They're not just being taken down. They're being body slammed. They're being dragged by their hair. They're being maced or pepper sprayed directly into their eyes. They're being called all kinds of things out of their name by so-called police officers. It's offensive.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you tell people, they shake their head and go, what can't happen in the USA? Well, it's happening.
Yeah, it is happening.
It is happening.
And these children, I call them children, but they're grown, and they are educated, not all of them, but all of them are smart, whether they have a formal education or not. But they're not educated. They're JDs, they're MDs, they're NSWs, they're just brilliant.
They are.
And the fact that they can't be easily infiltrated because there's no one head.
Yes.
So, I heard someone say there are many legs and feet and no head, which is driving the powers that be crazy.
Right. Right.
But this movement won't be easily dismantled.
Right.
Well, Dr. Bridgman, I know you got to go, and we really, really appreciate the moments you've given us. One last thing, if you could characterize and speak of a little bit. One of the things I saw that you all did that I thought was just overwhelmingly moving was a moment in the religious service or in the service that you were, the gathering that you had, where you actually washed the feet of these women who are on the ground. Could you talk about that just a little bit?
Oh my God. So, Reverend Shan, Bishop John Selders, said, do you think we could have a foot washing? And then Pastor Starkey Wilson asked them if they would be willing. And what you need to know is almost all of the women in that line, with the exception of 2 or 3, that's not a part of their tradition. So they had never had their feet washed in that sense. And so to do a foot washing and to bless them and to, we wash their feet, one of us rub their feet with oil or with prayed over them with the anointing and oil. And it was unwanted for me to do it. These are true foot soldiers in the war for country.
Yeah.
He was war. They have threatened. The police have told them they will kill them. They have told them they will might drown them.
So that's now a verb. That's a verb now. Mike Brown.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And yet, to be called to serve them, to encourage them, to strengthen them, it was just important.
Yeah.
It was important.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Reverend Michelle suggested it. I'm glad the women were open to it. I'm glad we did it. It was a powerful ritual that keep on running on. And one of the youngest in the group that came and that spoke about why she was doing it actually said, I don't feel no ways tired.
All right. All right. Well, Dr. Bridgman, thank you so very much for your words and your stories connected to what's going on the ground in Ferguson. God bless you. Continue your good work, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you. Bless y'all too for what you're doing.
All right.
All right.
God bless.
Peace and love.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Reflecting Faith. This is Bishop John Selders.
And this is Pamela Selders.
And we are continuing our conversation, doing a little debriefing of our most recent trip to Ferguson. And we have on the line one of our sisters, friends and colleagues for I think more than 1 or 2 years. It's been a few years we've known each other and have served together and worked together. This is the Reverend Elder Jacqueline Tyler. She is a faithful member of the pastoral staff. I don't know what your real title is, but Glory to Glory Christian Church in St. Louis. You've been on the ground from the beginning.
Yes.
Hey, Pastor Jackie.
Hey.
Doing all right. Want to first of all get your take. You were out there kind of early on the ground in Ferguson. Describe what your involvement has been and what you've seen. And your faithful witness as you have moved since this incident and the shooting and the movement has begun.
With the movement, that is true, I have been on the ground since day one. Actually, I would say it has been maybe like a few days after when the initial clergy march happened, after the candlelight vigil and first night of the riots and lootings had started. And I remember that well because actually that was my building anniversary on the 12th. So I decided to go out there and did the march, and I was amongst the protesters when we initially came outside of the building that the Earth House 15 trip and on the Florida. And to be completely honest, the entire protest was completely positive. It was inspiring. It was uplifting. People had their children out, and I was walking around just noticing just how people were interacting with one another. And I mean, not just black people, but white people, Asian people coming from rural areas. There's a young man from a rural area that were out there, protesting the the other incident was on the ground. And from then on, it just kind of really organically from there. I have, my part has been playing in pastoral presence. We were in the Chancellor Department for the rest of that week for about a good week and a half, where organizations around St. Louis, Ferguson Lives, and People's Church folks all came in to bring the residents and the citizens of St. Louis, food, toiletries, pampers, free medical screening, and a few of the clergy got together and decided to give an offer like a prayer station, which to me that spoke volumes, because every time that I walked in the Ferguson area, in the protest with the Bishop, especially in that Florida, and this is before the night had gone into, the events that we saw on television. And people came up and they appreciated the fact that the clergy there to hear their stories, and hear their experiences, and to be assigned for it, to humble prayer. So that has been pretty much my role from day one.
Sister Jackie, if you could talk a little bit about many folk have never been in a besieged area or in a spot where their service and witness has become so vitally needed in the way yours has been. Could you talk a little bit about that, driving into Canfield Street and driving, those early days when the tear gas and after the aftermath, the morning after, if you will?
Okay, sure. The one thing about it, with the residents of Canfield, I want to give a picture. What people have been seeing in the media and seeing on television, it's completely different. Canfield is a beautiful,
It is.
concept with working mothers, working families, working fathers, working children that play in the area. And with the clergy, when everyone was really focusing on Canfield and going by and seeing the memorial of Mike Brown in the middle of Canfield Street, it was a very mixed atmosphere, from my opinion, which is an eye statement. Some people were very, very happy and very appreciative of the fact that we were there, and we were able to listen to a lot of the stories that was not told on the media. So able to hear about a lot of it that happened not only with police officers, but the day of the time of the shooting, but at night when a lot of these more violent events happened, and the fear and the anger, the anguish, the frustration. So those were a lot of mixed emotions. And what I gathered was that the people really just did not have time to just breathe and be warm. Mike Brown, from what I understand, what I gathered, and the part of the community, as everybody was describing, was just a shining place. Just to, after maybe about like a couple of weeks after everything had kind of gone down, a few pastors and clergy went on Sunday evening just to have a listening session, with the residents that are in here. So, and then, I heard firsthand, like, from Mike Brown's cousin, how they were treated, as, common criminals, or how they were treated as criminals in their own homes. There was an incident where a fire was started by one of the doctors, and, a person was trying to put out the fire, and got hit really badly, and the young lady put the children in the car, and the National Guard was there, and trying to tell them that the person was bleeding out of the cut very badly, and was met by sniper bullets, and sniper rifles just pointed at her, and she was like, wait, this person is bleeding, and the way that the treated individual just grabbed him by his arm and dragged him out of the car. I mean, some of the images that they told us, these are the stories and the experiences
And I was shocked, I was mortified, but at the same time, I had to just continue to pray. Because one thing that some of the residents said, you don't know our pain, you don't know firsthand what we are going through. They don't come in trying to pretend like you do. And I respected them. So as we kept moving fast forward, how I seen Church work, and how I seen Church operate in a myriad of ways. They operated as teachers. There are some that try to operate on the other side of the fence with trying to offer some sort of capitalist services for the police officers. Because, they've been out there on hours on end, people are on edge, people are already angry with anybody in law enforcement. With state troopers, it seems like it was trying to be a positive force between both narratives that are in play across the world. And now that the youth have really risen to the forefront of the they become very militant, especially some coalitions that are trying, or that they feel as if are negotiating with police officers.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of individual where, yes, I do want to see justice as a clergy person, as an African American woman, as someone who's been racially profiled in the Ferguson area, but at the same time, I'm reminded of Scripture as to where we have to come up all the time. We have to get all the facts and all the people. So it's like, I'm on the sidelines that's really looking at the terms and asking God, how, where are we in all of this?
Yeah. Well, Elder Tyler, thank you for your service and your witness. We're called to be light and leaven in a world that is ripping sometimes asunder in lots of different chaos and turmoil. And appreciate very much your witness, both silent and consistent, as our folk. Those are kinfolk for Pamela and I, are doing what they're doing. And thank you very much for your service. Keep us in your prayers, and we'll keep you in our prayers. And let us know what we can do as we continue to move forward. All right?
All right, and the one thing I can say is you are consistent with the church to train and keep holding us up in prayer, especially with regard that we need to the next level to see exactly where the grand jury decision is. Again, we're still bracing ourselves for whatever that might come up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're holding
Certainly.
you. We're holding you all there. God bless. We'll talk to you soon, Pastor. All right. Peace. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
The Ferguson October Weekend of Resistance reaches Sunday, and at the Epiphany United Church of Christ, the pastor is asking why so many young black men are being killed by the police.
Shall we just call it us? For having settled into a racist status quo for so long that we became accepting of how its hatred has infected everything.
One of the goals of the weekend's organizers is to build a broad coalition against police violence, and the members of this congregation are on board.
They're using, tanks and tear gas, things that don't make us feel safer or feel that they're there to protect us.
The fact is we just pretend everything's fine. It's not, but now we're getting conversations from those people and reactions from those people who've experienced suffering. It's breaking open some things that have been under the surface.
As the service ends here, Across town, the hip-hop and resistance concert is getting underway, and the message being expressed is the same. Taff Poe is one of the organizers of the Weekend of Resistance. He says the diversity of those outraged by Michael Brown's killing is often ignored.
American mainstream media likes to paint the narrative that it's a bunch of young, angry black kids. But when you touch down on the ground, you quickly learn that it's kind of different.
What's been happening here in St. Louis this weekend has involved thousands of people from around the country and has gained international attention.
Fight back! Fight back!
But it all began as people began to gather outside Ferguson police station after Michael Brown was killed.
So we all stepped out into the middle of the street, and a lot of people looked at us like that was a really radical thing to do. But at that time, we were like, look, this isn't going to be one of those situations where it's like what it was in the past, where we come and we sing and we pray and we go home. Like, we're going to resist.
There is still anger here at the killing of Michael Brown and the investigation that followed. But the events this weekend in St. Louis are not just about short-term justice, but long-term change. Shihab Ratansi, Al Jazeera, St. Louis.
Hey, welcome back. This is Reflecting Faith, and I am Bishop John Selders.
And I am Pamela Selders.
And we, you know, Pam, our trip home this time was it was the most different trip we've ever taken back to the STL. St. Louis, from the very beginning, when we got off the plane and got to the rental car, we headed to Ferguson just to get a sense and feel of what's on the ground, and it felt different.
Yeah.
And
it felt like the same but different.
Yeah. Of course, you know.
It felt like so you know the usual roads that you've driven down for years.
Highway 70.
But it's changed, because if you make the wrong turn on Highway 70, you on the bridge. We did that.
As we found ourselves headed to East St. Louis, because there's a new way and there's a new bridge.
Right.
So you're exactly right. There were ways in which St. Louis has changed tremendously from the times we lived there.
But yet the very same, and the very same spirit, the very same energy.
Yeah.
That's at the core or underneath.
Right.
And then on top, a lot of changes. And so you can feel them both. I felt like these streets, I know I could just drive them, almost with my eyes closed, except, some of them roads change, and so I better open my eyes.
That's right.
But, so there's there, and then there's the other, the spirit and the energy of what's happening.
Yeah.
What's going on, what's changing, what's shifting.
Yeah.
And, it was palpable.
Yeah.
So, it was very, I felt up and down the whole time.
Right.
And I resonate with Sister Tara in saying that I'm still processing this.
Yeah.
I don't really, it's some things I really, I just don't, I don't know yet. I'm figuring it out. So, because it's intense, and it's not just what's happening in St. Louis, it's what's happening around this country and around the world.
That's right. There are people...
violence against groups of people.
Yes.
It's just time for that to shift. It's time for it to change. And people everywhere are just saying, no, we're not going to continue to do that.
It's been said over and over again by folk we've been talking to, both people who are from St. Louis and people who are in their spaces and places, that, folk are just tired. And when you're on the neck, on the head, on the back of other folk for so long, they get tired. And people are now tired. Reverend Sekou referenced, here are young people on the move, and they're just not going to bow down.
They're just not going to. And I resonate with that, too. I really resonate, because what happens is, if you devalue a life for so long, then that life says, listen, either I'm going to live or die. And they lose the fear of it. The fear goes away. And when you get to a point where you're not afraid to live or die, then, things change and they shift, and you step up in a different way.
Yeah.
It's your back is against the wall, so what are you going to do? I mean, if you don't like me that much, you don't care about me, I don't matter, You're going to kill me, and it doesn't matter what kind of clothes I wear.
Or how you wear them.
It doesn't matter where I live, where I was educated. It doesn't matter.
What kind of car you driving?
No, none of that matters. You will still shoot me dead. You will still kill me. You will still harass me because you don't value me.
Yeah.
So then you make a decision. After a while, it keeps happening to you and everybody you know that's like you. You come to a point where you say, you know what? You say I don't matter and you're going to kill me? Well, I'm not just going to accept that. I'm going to, swing a couple of times. I'm going to go down fighting, because this is how I show my power.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I show that I matter.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's an organized effort.
Mm-hmm. And those are the weapons. They're not gun for gun, bullet for bullet.
No, it's I matter.
It's
and this is how I matter.
That's right. It's about being organized. We go shut down a Walmart.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We go out in the street and we protest. The things we were engaged in and involved in, I never have ever engaged in a protest as a clergy person where I actually talked to the folk. We were asked to engage the authorized authority and say to them that you are a part of a racist, bigoted, biased system, sinful system. And as a person of faith, I'm calling for you to repent,
Absolutely.
to turn around, and I am here to hear, as a faith person, as a faith leader, I'm here to hear your confession.
Right, and that was a powerful, powerful thing. And, while you were on the front line, and the decision was you were going to be on the front line, and willing to be arrested, and I'm not going to be on the front line and not willing to be arrested. I was able to stand back and watch. Watch, the clergy and watch the reactions of the police and see them. I could see their individual personalities, and they varied. It was all kind of people. It was ones that were right with us, crying, praying, and then there was others that was spaced out, and others that was tired, and others that were posing.
Yeah.
They posed for the cameras.
Right.
So you can see them individually, but the problem was it wasn't about them individually.
Right.
It was about the system that they were hired by, attached to.
Yes.
That then trained them.
Yes.
To kill groups of people, kill young black males between the ages of 25 to 40.
Younger than that, because Mike Brown was 18 years old.
Yes, younger than that.
Or Von Derek Myers, he
Absolutely.
was 17, 18, 19 years old.
Police come to classrooms of 6 years old and threaten them.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. So they're a part of this system.
Yeah.
And so what we were talking about was that, and then systemic change.
Yeah.
You have to go for the systemic change, and I don't have a lot. Sorry, but I don't have a lot of sympathy for individual police officers because they do have a choice to be in a system or to not be in a system. And if they're going to be in a system, even though I feel like they are trained in a particular way, then your own humanity, your own God self needs to step up and say, okay, I can't cross this line.
Right.
I just can't shoot somebody down in cold blood running away from me.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot happening. There was a lot going on when we were there, and there's a lot to process about this whole thing.
That's
for
right.
me.
That's right. We will continue to talk.
Yeah.
We'll continue to do reports and share our experiences. We've made a commitment together, you and I, along with the faith communities we are connected to and serve, that we will be back on the ground. We've made a commitment to do that.
And we've made a commitment to some of the young people who are out there fighting a good fight.
That's right.
Who are out there doing that. They do need our support. They do need our help. They are looking for us, and they're looking for support.
That's right.
They're not looking to be put down.
That's
They're not
right.
looking to be lectured.
Corrected.
Yeah, corrected and lectured to. That's not the support that they need. They need love. They need attention. They need prayer. They need our leadership.
Yeah.
So we've made a commitment to them too.
That's right. That's right. So
and a commitment to to change the system. And two, also, it's not that I don't want to pray for police officers. I am. I'm really praying for them to remember who they are in the process of the work. Remember that they are supposed to be protecting and serving the people, not killing them.
We are committed to do the work God has called us, I believe, in this hour. For many, we are realizing that this may be our Selma for this generation. This is our Montgomery. This is our time to do the work of social justice, human rights work, if you will. And we would like to ask you to join us. Join us on the journey to be praying for us. Check us out on Facebook and read our Twitter post. Go to our church's website. I got to plug the church that I serve, Amistad United Church of Christ, AmistadUCC.org. Click on the donate button if you feel so led and called to, as others have already, and join us in this work. We're not going to stop doing justice work, and we're not going to stop doing this work. We feel so called and connected to it in the particular way that we have been and that we are positioned to be. Thank you, Pamela, for supporting your husband and in this work. I feel so called, and I feel like we're partnering together to do it. Want to give a great big old shout out to Reverend Kevin Ewing and Big Kev and the whole team here at the Grove Studios in New Haven for hosting us and for lending their expertise. And we'll be back at you real soon to continue this conversation and to continue telling these stories and reflecting out of our experiences. God bless you. Peace.
We are here to help each other.